15 free beginner-friendly knitting patterns. Yes, 15. Hello everybody, my name is Bash Harry and this is the Harry Knit. I talk about knitting and all that good craft content for you here on YouTube, so please subscribe if you are interested. I know that a lot of people are getting really interested in knitting this year, especially for like their 2022 goals, which is amazing. And everyone starts out as a beginner. Knitting, like any new hobby, can be very overwhelming when you're just starting out. There are so many projects on the internet, on Ravelry, on Instagram, that you don't really know when or how to start. But if you are in that kind of junction, then this video is here and it is just for you. Because if you're a beginner knitter, obviously you can still make beautiful and easy knits just for yourself or your family. Hence why I compiled 15, yes, as I said, 15 free beginner-friendly patterns and projects just for you. I'll link to all the Ravelry pages down below, so feel free to check it out. If you have any suggestions or there's something that I'm missing out on and you think they deserve to know or we deserve to know, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Let's start a discussion. Let's start, because honestly, I would love to see more patterns I might be missing out on. Also, want to give a quick shout out to Lily Kate Makes, who's a designer, and she made this. Well, this is her pattern. I knitted the sweater, and I'm gonna show off the sleeves for as much as I can. But yeah, all the links to everything that I'm wearing and all of that good stuff will be in the description down below. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to split this into categories. I have my laptop right here. And we're going to start off with accessories. So accessories is the way that most beginners will start. That's how I started. I started off knitting hats. Let's start with the hats that I've chosen. So here is the classic cuffed hat by Purl Soho. The reason why I chose this, which is great for beginners, apart from the fact that it's free, it is such a simple design. It has the classic ribbed little brim that most hats do, and then it just continues on and builds before you bind off, cast off, pull the yarn, and then you create a classic pom-pom if you want to. I have made this pattern for so many babies in the past few years. It's just so easy to make. All you need is worsted weight yarn, though I have used Sport and DK and it's been fine, as well as some 4.5 millimeter needles and 3.75. Obviously you have to match the gauge, but once you hit gauge with any kind of yarn, it should be fine. Purl Soho has amazing patterns, and you'll see one or two more here in this video, but I just want to recommend this one specifically. They do have it in the size baby, kid, and adult. And because this is a very basic pattern, you can play around with it and add some color work if that's what you're into. The next hat that I want to recommend is also from Purl Soho. It is the classic ribbed hat. I don't know about you, but I was in like a pretty big beanie phase, and I've always wanted like a classic ribbed hat. But unfortunately, I never made one. Not yet. This one is great as well. It does use thinner yarn weight like DK, and it does take patience because it is a rib knit, so it's like a knit one, purl one. But if you have the patience and you have the willpower and the time, you will have a hat that looks like you bought it at Urban Outfitters if you pick the right colors. This one also comes in baby, kid, adult small, medium, and large. So perfect for any head shape. I have not made this one yet, but we'll see in the future. I do want to make one. I do want to make like a classic ribbed hat, but maybe for my style now. So we shall see about that. The next one that is on the accessories list, and this is one that I made years ago, years ago, and it is the Michele by Sarah Monty hand knits. I'll insert a picture of me wearing it. Oh, I think this was made in 2013, so like 9 years ago, when I was starting out with my knitting and I wanted a hat that had some kind of pattern in it. It was the Michele. And so this one's a bit more unique than the Purl Soho patterns because it uses and incorporates slip stitches. And so it gives this really nice look to it that is one, very pretty, and two, it's easy to memorize and you can practice your slip stitches. It is for, I would say, an advanced beginner, so maybe this wouldn't be your first ever hat. If you're willing to do it, you will have a beautiful, beautiful hat. I wish I knew where it was. I know it's in my house somewhere. I can't find it. This one, unfortunately, is only one size, but it should fit if you are an average adult size head. I think my head is actually kind of small, all things considered. So we've talked a bit about hats, and I know that's the one that everyone usually makes, but there are some really, really, really pretty designs for headwear as well. So the first one I want to show is Frida by Emilie L. Ravelry Store, or by Emily Louise. This is such a pretty headband, and it comes in one size, I think. Yes, it's one size. It's also available in French and Spanish, if that is what you want to have the pattern in. It is also very adjustable, so you can have it adjusted to your head shape. You have to remember though, because it's knitted, it stretches, so you don't really need to make it bigger than it actually needs to be. Even 1 inch shorter is fine and it'll fit your head shape just right. I don't wear headbands, not anymore at least. I used to, but it's not something that I make for myself. I usually make it for babies and toddlers, as I said. But they are very quick, and I know this pattern. I know what it looks like. I have done this pattern many, many times. So simple. It'll take you an hour or two if you're making it for a child, but if you're making it for yourself, it will also probably take less than a day. Last, but definitely not least on the list, is the Laura's Hair Bow by Laura Doty. I made so many of these when I was first starting out with my knitting, because honestly, you can play around with so many different stitches and have something new every single time. So I would make these for like my cat, honestly, and he doesn't seem to appreciate it. I would make it as a hair tie for kids or even for myself. And there's just so many things you can do with them. I say you can make multiple of these and just practice on your tension and your different types of patterns that you might be interested in learning how to do, and you can just turn it into a very quick, very cute bow. So that is all of my accessories that I've got. Let's move on to scarves. So scarves is what I would say is probably one of the more easier, beginner-friendly projects, because it is a project that you knit back and forth. There's no joining in the round. It is simply laid flat. It's a long rectangle. And obviously the easiest one you could do is a garter stitch scarf. But if you want to play around with it, you can do the Doctor Who scarf, specifically from the 4th Doctor by Chris Brimelow. Brimelow? I hope I'm pronouncing his written name right. So if you are a Doctor Who fan, which if you could tell, I am, this is my, I don't know if I can show you. This is my signed poster or like frame of Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor. And I used to have like 3 of the sonic screwdrivers. Yeah, I was a bit of a Doctor Who fan, just a little bit of a Doctor Who fan. And one of the things that I wanted to do back in my Whovian days was to make the Doctor Who scarf, because it looked so simple, because it's a garter stitch. But I just never had the time. It's always very long. If you have the patience and you are willing to do the garter stitch for many, many rows as you want, the Doctor Who scarf is so easy. And you can also play around with the stripes. I think the best thing about the Tom Baker scarf is that it is so unique, but also very different. So the way that you make it will be very different than what the original piece is, yet it's still iconic and you know exactly what it is. But if you're not a Whovian, another one that I found here on Ravelry is the Beginner Garter Drop Stitch Scarf. So this one's a little different, but kind of similar because it uses garter stitch. Instead of doing it all the way around, you are doing a yarn over and a drop stitch. So those two are very common in lace work, and you might be able to practice. It is a great beginner project to learn if you want to learn how to do drop stitches and yarn over. The drop stitches and the length really add up. Perfect beginner project. I personally don't do scarves because I don't really need to. I don't live in a country that requires you to wear scarves. So I would probably do this if I did, but you don't need to. So those are the scarves. Let's move on. We've got home decor coming right up. So the best thing about knitting for home decor is that, well, you have something to liven up your home, your space, your living room or your bedroom, if that's where you want to put it. But you can also make it creative as well. So here I've got the Diagonal Comfort Blanket by Lion Brand Yarn, which Lion Brand Yarn also has really nice easy patterns if you're interested. This one uses Aran weight yarn, which is, you can substitute for worsted if you want, and has a big gauge of 16 inches by 4 inches. Is it a big gauge? I would consider it big gauge, but that's because of what I usually knit up. So this is great if you want to have a classic baby blanket as for a gift for new parents. I know now in my 20s, many of my friends are having babies, so I'm making them a lot more blankets and a lot more baby hats. I would consider this project very easy because it is a garter stitch, but it does have some rows at the very end, as you can see, and it's so cute. I think it just gives a very nice touch to the overall project, so it doesn't look like it's so basic. It's just the garter stitch. Another thing that you can make, and this one I think is for the kitchen, it is the Grandmother's Favorite, the original by Vintage. I don't know if the designer is called Vintage or it's just a vintage knit, but this has a lot of projects, like over 20k, and it is a very simple dishcloth. You can use cotton, you can use linen, but you can just knit it up and you have a dishcloth for your home and you can always reuse it. I have made 1 or 2 dishcloths for my house. Not gonna lie, it's not something that I will make usually, simply because I like making knitwear. I like making clothes, but it is always something that you can do. Other people have used 100% cotton or even acrylic. If you're a beginner, I'm sure you are using acrylic as well to start out. That's what most beginners start with anyway. But if you are not looking for anything utilitarian and you want something just pretty, I'd recommend the Smushion by Emma Folds. It is so easy, and I know in the pattern she uses cables. It is a very simple pattern if you want to start learning how to do cables. However, it doesn't necessarily need cables. You know what I mean? You could just make it lay flat and plain, or you could doll it up with the cables. Honestly, it is dependent on you, but pillow covers is something that many people who are beginners do start out with, because it is a basic rectangle or square, depending on what size your pillow is. We've gone through accessories, scarves, home decor. I want to talk about my favorite category, which is garments, like these. I'll be honest, I only started making clothes 2 years ago, I think, like 2022. This is 2022. I started knitting clothes in 2020, and for the past 8 years before that, I was just making hats and scarves and little stuffed toys. Clothes is still something that I recently picked up and absolutely love, and these are some free ones that I would highly recommend. The first one is from Espace Tricot. I'm sorry if I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. I'm not really good with names, but this is their turtle dove pattern, and it only uses 1 needle size, or 2 needle sizes, size 7 and 6, using bulky yarn. So this is a bulky yarn project, would be really great for warm weather, cold weather, like winter or fall. It's a loose raglan style sweater, so it starts up here and goes down, and it is knitted in the round with some optional short rows if that's something that you want to do. I would say short rows are a more advanced technique, but if you can pick it up, it's so easy. Because it is knitted in the round, it is seamless and you don't have to attach anything together, which for me is always great for a pattern. I love it. I much prefer it. I personally wouldn't make a pattern like this simply because I don't live in that kind of weather, but it would be great as a beginner project. However, a summer project that I highly recommend, coming from one of my favorite designers, is the Summer Secret Crop by Jessie Designs. This is so beautiful, it is so nice, and it is available for free for the duration of COVID-19, which we're currently in right now. I would say that this is one of the more simple patterns that she has. I have it saved, I have it downloaded. I have not made it yet, but I have made more, I think 2-3 of her pieces, so I can tell you right now her sizes are so inclusive, and they range up from extra small to 5 extra large, so it will fit any body type if you're curious. I'm not somebody who shows off a lot of skin, but to make something like this is perfect if you are going out in the summer, or something that I would wear at home just to relax. Another garment I would recommend, which I also make quite often, I made 2 or 3 of these during COVID last year, and that is the Girly Knits bra top. I like making bras. They're just so comfy, they're easy, they're usually very quick, and they make great gifts if your friends want to make bras. I don't know, like I've made bras for my friends, I've made bras for myself, I made quite a number of bras, and the Girly Knits bra top is super easy and it's simple, which is great. It is bottom up, so you do the ribbing and then you do the bust and then the straps. You can actually adjust it to your size, and you can even turn it into a crop top or even just a tank top depending on what your preference is. I personally stick to bras because I like a good bra, but for you as a beginner, it's obviously a great way to practice your stockinette and your ribbing and get a good piece out of it. I love bras, they're the best. Okay, let's move on to the last garment in this section, and that is my first knit sweater by Marley Bird. This one is in collaboration with Red Heart Yarns, and I've seen her YouTube video on it. I think I'll link it down below. I think she has one. If she doesn't, I'm sorry, but if she does, I'll link it down below. And right here, it is a basic boat neck, bottom up drop sleeve sweater. So it is worked flat, so it is 2 pieces laid flat together, and then you do the sleeves. This is something that I guess if you're not comfortable with knitting in the round just yet, I would recommend because it is so good for beginners. There are over 340 projects as of recording this, so if you're interested in learning how to knit sweaters, this would be the perfect one for you. Okay, we've got 14 down, I think. We've got 14 down. We've got 1 more to go. And I saved the best for last. Okay. It's the one that I still haven't done yet, for a long time at least. And that is socks. I don't know if I could put this in garments, but I'm going to put it in its own category, which is socks, and that is the I'm So Basic socks by Summer Lee. I was tempted not to put socks at all in this video because socks are scary. They can be, but I think when you're a beginner, you kind of want to start learning how to make everything. And one thing that a lot of new knitters want to do, or at least in my opinion wanted to do, was to make socks. But we get very overwhelmed because they can be very scary. So I would recommend Summer Lee's because it is a photo tutorial and it is top cuff down. So you start on the little cuff area and you go down, and she basically teaches you how to go along with the socks. I am currently making a few pairs of socks for myself and my partner, so hopefully I'll be using this pattern as well, and I'll let you guys know how it turned out. You can just use circular needles or double pointed needles if you have them, but obviously you can also learn the magic loop technique. I am not great at that, so I would just recommend getting the very small knitting needles like the Knit Pro Zing. So yeah, that is about it from me. I am sorry about the weather right now. It's very dark, it's very rainy this afternoon, but nevertheless, I do hope you enjoy the video, and if you did, please do like, comment, and subscribe. And as well, if you have any more ideas or there are some patterns that I'm missing out, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. I always appreciate it. But until then, my name is Bash Harry, this is the Harry Knit, and I'll see you next week. Bye!